Okay, so I'm going to see if Jason is still listening to me behind the scenes there and can turn on his webcam and his microphone, and we'll see him live here on the screen too. There he is.
Hey, Patrick, how are you?
Just great. Thank you so much, Jason. I know you're a busy guy because you just signed up your second client here recently, right? So you got a lot going on, I know.
Yes, sir.
And tell us about the cabin you're in here. You're up in the hills of Tennessee.
I'm in Eastern Tennessee, outside the Smoky Mountains. I live on a lake called Norris Lake.
Nice. Jason, I know we're going to have a lot of questions coming in. I actually see some right now that I'm going to address as we get to them. But let's just start with you and tell me a little bit about yourself, your background, what you were doing when you looked into this business. A little over a year ago? Or no? Was it this year?
Well, I joined up this year. I've been looking for a year or two of different opportunities. I founded a home healthcare company back in 2005 and grew it to about 85 employees, multi-million-dollar company. In 2015, I got approached by a company called, I got approached by another company who wanted to buy me out. Sold my company. So for a few years there, I was kind of semi-retired and kind of looking for the next thing when this opportunity came along.
Yeah, well, good. And there's a lot of businesses to choose from out there, aren't there?
There is. I looked at a lot. I looked at a lot of different ones before I settled on this one.
And so even though you had some background there, it had nothing to do with the billing for doctors?
I never did any of the billing for doctors. No, sir.
Yeah. And what was it about this business specifically that you thought, well, you know, I know you had a background, of course, in the healthcare field in general, but what appealed to you about doing
what appealed to me about this opportunity was, you know, obviously I wanted something that was a growth industry, which medical billing is, healthcare in general is. I wanted something that still allowed me the freedom to be able to do it from wherever I am. You know, if my wife and I want to travel during the wintertime somewhere else, you know, you can do billing from wherever you are. You don't have to be tied to one location. I wanted to be able to market nationwide if I wanted to, and the ability to be able to bill wherever I am and then market in that particular area that I happen to be in was very attractive. So I think the opportunity for growth, I think it's a tremendously untapped market, and the ability to be the freedom to continue to travel if I choose to was what was attractive to me. I think when I first started looking into this, what my concern was that more and more medical practices were being bought up by hospital or healthcare networks. And then as I started to do a little bit more research, I found that actually a lot of doctors are trying to break away from healthcare networks, are trying to keep from being absorbed by healthcare networks. So I thought this was an opportunity for me to be able to work with them and consult with them and try to increase their productivity to avoid that from happening.
Yeah, sometimes it's all about timing when you get into a business, isn't it?
It is, absolutely.
The doctors have been acquired, a lot of the private practices, by hospitals and things, but now as their contracts run out in a couple of years, they're going back into private practice, which means they kind of start from scratch all over again. But they'd rather do that than, you know, work for somebody as an employee.
That's right.
So, Jason, let's see. You went through training just this past July.
July or August. I don't remember if it was early August or late July.
Yeah. All right. So tell us what happened when you got. Well, first of all, relate a little bit about the training itself. I know we're doing that virtually now online. I don't know if you knew that or not.
I just heard you say it. Yeah, I knew you were going in that direction. I didn't know that you had already done it, though. Yeah.
Yeah. And of course, you had to take a week out and you know, come down here, which is a nice experience. But just give us a feel for the instructor, the content, the professionalism of the training that you went through, because it's the same thing now. In fact, Cynthia Anderson, one of our instructors that was with you, is actually doing a lot of that virtual training now for us. You know, she's a licensee up in the Phoenix area.
Yeah, honestly, I can't say enough good things about Cynthia. Cynthia was phenomenal. And you know, it's hard for me to say which is better, the live training or the online training. I know a lot of times I prefer to do things online, but I really enjoyed my time out there that week. getting to know Cynthia and getting to know you and some of the other folks at ABS. To be honest with you, when I went out there, I didn't know what to expect. You're always kind of apprehensive of what did I just buy into? What am I doing? And then I get out there and the training was just top notch from the day we started to the day it ended. Cynthia was phenomenal. Everyone I met was phenomenal. The training materials were beyond what I thought they were going to be. There's nothing I can say that other than the top praise for the training that we went through. I left there knowing that I had the tools available to me to be as successful as I wanted to be, but it was up to me to do it. No one was going to be out there holding my hand, but I was given the tools that I needed to be successful.
Yeah, and that's all you can ask for any kind of training, right? Even big franchises who fly people out for a couple of weeks, well, if they've invested, $500,000, they'll fly them out, they'll train them. But for a lot of companies, I think that's kind of the end of it. They just don't pay attention to their existing franchisees, and ABS is just committed to guys like yourself who are trying to build their business because, as you know, we make some money on the back end as well.
Right. Yes, you're absolutely. You've been there when I needed you, for sure.
Yeah. Let's see. Here's the first question coming in. Let's take Cynthia's question. She says, "Does this medical billing is this different from hospital medical record systems such as Epic?" I'm not familiar with hospital billing, so I don't know, but it's definitely a different type of billing, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm familiar with Epic Care. That's a EMR system that a lot of hospitals use, and I would say that the system that we use would be somewhat similar. Yes.
Yeah, it's just that usually hospitals are big organizations. Some people have asked us about hospital billing, and we tell them, look, you could find doctors that are hospitalists, that visit patients in the hospital, but they do their own billing. They're independent contractors, so to speak, with the hospital. But it's not like it's a huge market because the hospitals already have invested sometimes millions of dollars in their billing system.
That's right.
Their employees. I mean, they have that down pretty good because, well, they've got a bill to get paid, just like doctors do.
Right.
But there's a big difference, isn't there, Jason, from hospitals and doctors, because doctors, most of them, if they're a small practice, even one or two or even a half a dozen doctors, they're still struggling to get that money in like they should. They don't. Well, they're just not business people, are they?
They're not. They're they got into the business to take care of people, to provide medical care to their patients. They didn't get into business to be business owners. And actually, where I live, there's a university, Lincoln Memorial University, which is a big DCOM program, and I happen to know the administrator of the business program there for MBA students, and we were talking a few weeks ago about how he's trying to bridge that gap between the business side of the university and the medical side of the university, because he said our DOs are leaving and they don't have any idea how to run a practice, and that's what a lot of them want to do. They want to go out and run a practice. They don't know how to do that. They don't know about marketing. They don't know about the revenue cycle. They don't know about collecting. That's not what they want to do. And that's where we step in to fill that void. That's our sweet spot, the practices that are, 1 to 4 or 5 practitioners, not the giant hospitals. That's not what we do well.
We do have licensees, of course, who've signed up some pretty good groups. We've got a lady out in California who signed up a group of 80.
Wow, yeah.
80, yeah. But that's rare. That's not the norm, and it's not certainly what we would tell people to go out and sign up as their first client.
Right, exactly. Yep.
So when you got back, kind of tell us how it went there in August or September or whatever. You just kind of got out there and started doing some of the marketing that we taught in the class?
Yeah, so one of the big things that we learn during the training is to hit your warm market first. Your friends, your family, your CPA, whoever you have as business associates, hit them first just to let them know what you're doing. Show them what you're doing, what you're looking for, et cetera, and and use that network. So before I even left training, I started setting up appointments with people that I knew and that I would want to present to. And I think it was my third meeting was with my CPA. And I went over and met with my CPA, and through the course of the conversation, the presentation, he said, "You know what, Jason, ironic that you're here in my office today. I have a friend who was just in my office yesterday who wants to open her own practice, and she was asking me what services I could provide as an accountant. And so I went over what I could do for her, and then she said, well, can you do my billing for me? And I, Jason, I don't do billing. I don't know anything about medical billing. So I told her I would check into a few things for her, but I didn't even know where to turn. So he passed all my information to her, and the next day or the day after, her husband called me and said, hey, we want to meet with you. Went out and met with them, and through that process, everybody clicked, and not only was I able to sign them up as a billing client, but it was really a good one for me because I'm able to learn a whole lot more, and I've actually signed up as their full-fledged business consultant, where I've helped them through the whole credentialing process, contracting process. I've got them signed up with not just our billing services, but about 4 of our services altogether. And it's just been an exciting process. So I've not only got to do what I have a little bit of experience in, and that's actually starting a business, but at the end of the day, I'm also going to reap the rewards of getting that billing business. So I was very fortunate to do that. But it's all about working that warm market. You never know who's going to know somebody that needs your services.
Yeah, and that's one of about what, a dozen or so different ways that we teach people to go out and make connections. And because a lot of people just think, oh, it's just going door to door knocking or something like that. And even though we do have licensees who've gotten clients just going door to door, it's
Right.
rare that you'll just stumble across somebody that goes, oh yes, we've been looking for somebody to do our billing,
That's right.
because most doctors are either doing it themselves with their own staff and their own
Right.
software, or they've already outsourced it to some others.
Right.
And so people ask me all the time, well, how is it that your licensees then are out there signing up doctors for billing if they've already got it under control? Well, some of them just think they have it under control.
Right.
And
That's right.
they most of them, Jason, most of them really know deep down inside that they're probably not collecting everything that they're billing for. They just don't know how to get that information out of the billing company or out of their own staff
Right.
to find out what the problem is.
Right. And that's where
Lots
we
of
step in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, the services that you mentioned earlier, you said you had 4 of them that you have already got started with this one client. A lot of people don't realize that that's what these are for. Is
Right.
not everybody is ready to enroll in your billing, but if you can get your foot in the door, that's a big
Right.
step, isn't it?
Right. You're absolutely right. You build some trust, some credibility, and you continue to work that relationship consistently.
Yeah, it's a matter of getting past what I call getting past the glass. That glass there in the front office is a barrier between you and the doctor and the office manager.
Right.
So if you can get in with anything. Now, Jason, I don't know if you know this or not, but in the last couple of weeks, we actually introduced a webinar for licensees that we're going to be doing in December for your doctor, prospects, and office managers. It's on the HIPAA compliancy, which you've already put into that one practice, I guess.
Right. I have. Yep. That was one of the ones I sold on. I don't want to say sell, but that was that was certainly a need that she had. So I presented our solution for her, and it was a no-brainer for her to do that. So.
Yeah, you'll see that in the illustration there, folks. Compliancy guard, it's called. That's in the bottom right-hand corner of those 4 middle boxes. Anyway, that's just one of, as you can see, 7 different services that you can offer to the doctor to get past the glass, get in the door, and now you're a part of their team. Like you said, Jason, you present yourself as a business associate and a consultant for that practice.
Right.
And you've got solutions for all kinds of stuff that they might have problems with.
Absolutely. And that's, I learned that early on in the process with ABS, and I don't remember who it was at ABS or if it was another licensee who made this. I think it might have been Cynthia, actually. She said you can present yourself one or two ways. You can present yourself as a medical biller, and that's all you'll ever be, as a medical biller, or you can present yourself as a medical practice consultant, and you have a whole suite of products and solutions that can help them drive a more productive and efficient practice. And by doing that, your business is going to just grow that much more. And when I heard that statement, that's kind of the philosophy I've taken all along. I'm not just getting into this to be a medical biller. I'm getting in this to be a medical practice consultant to help drive profitability for their practices.
Yeah, that's why on the certificate that you're holding in this this picture I had up there earlier, there it is. That's a certificate that we issue through the Medical Revenue Managers Association of America, which is an organization that is basically certifying people like yourself not as a medical biller, but as a medical revenue manager. That involves every aspect of getting money into the practice, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. Absolutely. Yes.
Or saving them money. Like compliancy guard, of course, is a good one to protect them from getting fined by Medicare hundreds of thousands of dollars sometimes.
That's right. What is the stat? Like 70% of medical practices they're not HIPAA compliant. 70%, I think the stat was. It's
That's right.
alarming. Yeah.
Yeah, in fact, this webinar that we're doing here coming up for our licensees, we're going to do the webinar. I should say MERMA, the Medical Revenue Management Association of America. They're going to do the webinar based on the compliancy guard service, of course, but it's called the 7 Essentials that you need to know about HIPAA or something like that. And it's amazing because the licensees who are out putting out the flyers, inviting the people or mailing them out or whatever, emailing them, they're getting all kinds of responses from people because what they do is they start out by saying, "Can I speak with your HIPAA compliancy officer?" And of course, they're supposed to have somebody in the
Right.
office that is that person,
Right.
but most of them don't even know they're supposed to have it, so they all kind of panic and go get the office manager, and that's who you want to talk to anyway. So
Right.
it's a great foot in the door service. Yeah. So here's a question from Don. Let's see. Don says, what is your first year goal in sales, and how is that progressing? Kind of give us a feel for where you're at now, Jason.
When I went into it, I think my goal for the first year or half a year, I mean, I was looking at it more as for 2019 was to try to get my return on investment and to sign up one provider, which I've done. So as far as my first full year, my goal is to, maybe 4 providers, try to
Yeah.
maybe generate about $65,000 or $70,000 in net income, which I think that's probably going to be doable. The first practice that I signed up, who's, she's starting her practice, she's already starting to talk about adding another practitioner. So now I'm up to, 3 practitioners. So the goals that I set for myself, I think were pretty doable.
Yeah, you're ahead of your goals. It sounds like.
Yeah.
Yes, to me that's a great goal for anybody. 4 in a year is just 1 a quarter.
Right.
That will almost happen automatically if you do a good job for the first one, because you'll
Right.
see those referrals start coming in.
And that's where my second provider came from. I was doing a good job with helping her set up her practice. Her husband is a nurse anesthetist who works with other doctors in surgeries, and he happened to be in surgery one day, and that practitioner said, I'm sick of my billing company. They're doing a horrible job. And he said, you need to speak to my guy, Jason. So he called me, and I went through that process with him, and that's where number 2 came from. So that exactly right. If you do good for one doctor, they're going to talk to other doctors, and they're going to talk. It's just at some point it becomes a snowball effect.
Yeah, most people who get into this business, Jason, are if they don't have any background in owning a business or doing any kind of marketing of any kind, then they're really scared about getting clients. And I tell them, look, all you have to do is just focus on one of the many ways that we teach you to get clients. And when that first one comes, just really do a good job for that person and ask them if
Right.
I'm doing a good job. Do you mind sharing what I do with some of your colleagues? And they're thrilled to be able to do that.
Right. Exactly right.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. Lots of questions coming here. Okay. Let's see. Here's one from David. Let's see. Patrick, what percentage of your members have employees, and what percentage just work out of their homes? And does Jason have plans to expand beyond his home and travel schedule? I'd say really there's probably just a small percentage, I should say, maybe 20% of our licensees that get offices outside of their home, or that even hire employees. Because honestly, Jason, you've done the math. You know that with a handful of doctors, 5 or 6, half a dozen doctors, you can make a 6-figure income and never hire anybody if you wanted to do it all yourself.
You can. I think the rule of thumb is one person can handle about, I think it's like 1,200 claims a month or something like that is the rule of thumb. So if my projections are correctly, this time next year, I will need someone else to hire to do the billing. I've actually already have some some friends or associates that are already in the medical billing field that work for other companies that have said that they would be interested in doing some part-time work. So that's my growth plan, is to utilize people I already know that are doing it and would like to help. As far as offices outside of my home, I don't really have that plan. I prefer to work from home when I can. It hasn't really presented any issues. You can lease what's called virtual office space if you feel like you need to have a legitimate business address. You can lease virtual office space, and they'll give you an address, et cetera, et cetera. But my plans aren't specifically to open up an office building and work outside the home. Because like Patrick said, 4 or 5, 6 providers will provide a 6-figure income. So it just depends on how big you want to grow it.
Yeah, and why would you want to not sit around in your pajamas all day and be close to your refrigerator?
Yeah.
We have offices here in the Fort Worth, Dallas area. We just moved to an office space out in South Lake, which is right near the DFW airport. So if people come in and want to visit, we meet them there. But to be honest with you, a lot of our folks are just working right from their home offices because, again, what we do is all technologically possible to have meetings like this with a dozen people in a meeting and never have to leave the house. So it's great technology we have nowadays.
Right.
So David, to answer your question, very small percentage actually hire employees. And you will know at some point, just like Jason said, he's already projected that when he gets to maybe 1,200 claims a month, that's 300 a week. That's something that you can easily do with much less than 40 hours a week, of course. So, yeah, you just grow. And by the way, it's pretty easy to find people who would love to work from their home doing the billing for you. And of course, you just pay them, either a percentage or by the hour, by the claim, however you want to. We cover some of that in our training too. So let's see. Okay, so here's a question about the billing. Now, Jason, I don't know if you've got these doctors up and running, but you've probably at least thought about what you're going to charge percentage-wise for the billing. Can you give people a feel for that? Because some people don't know, are you charging, 30% or 100% or 5% or
No, so the first practice that I signed up, because I'm doing a lot of leg work with the credentialing and the contracting for her and advising her on how to, everything over, who should I set up my internet with? What kind of computers do I need to buy? Can you help me get exam table? I mean, I'm doing a lot for her, and she did pay me a set fee up front, but I charged her a little bit less in exchange for upping her billing rate. So for her, I'm going to be charging her 8.5% of what we collect, which is pretty high, especially for the area that I'm in. The second provider that I signed up, because all I'm doing for him is billing. I mean, he's been in practice for 20 years. He doesn't need any of the other assistance that I can provide. So for him, I'm charging him 6%.
Yeah. And that's exactly the range that we hear from most licensees, anywhere from 6 to 8. In rare cases, it would be more than that. If it was a real small practice and there wasn't much volume or something like that, of course, we can help with the pricing. If we, see your practice analysis that you've done with the practice, we kind of know how to guide you on that because we've been doing it for 25 years. But Jason, as you know, you only come to us when you need our help because we don't have any say-so in running your business. You're an independent person. It's not a franchise, so you don't have any reporting to do or any quotas and certainly no percentage that you pay us. So
that's right. That's good. Yep.
Yeah.
If that, if that's the type, if you're a standalone person, that's what you want, that's perfect. If you're someone that needs a little bit more hands-on and you want a little bit more feedback and guidance, then the support's only a phone call or an email away, and they've, from everything I've needed, they've been right there and responsive and willing to help in any way they can.
Yeah, and then we have our own private website, of course, for licensees that has a lot of information on it, doesn't it? If you've browsed around there much, that's it's a big site.
It's usually the way I start my day every day is to look at the support website just to see if anything new has been posted. Go back through any articles that I may have missed, review something that I want to brush up on, that's usually where I start my day.
Yeah, and I think I have it up and running here. Oh, I need to switch that from the slide to my browser. Here we go. So, folks, he just talked a little bit about the licensee support site. This is it live. I've actually logged in here to it. So, as you can see, here's some of the postings that we've done just this past week on some things. And I'll scroll down there just so you can see that it's a lot of stuff. And hey, just look over on the right-hand side if you want to see how much stuff there is out there. Every one of those links over there is a month. So we started this in, 5 years ago, October of 2014. So if you went back in time, Jason, you literally don't have time to go through all this, do you?
No, you don't. No, I limit it to about an hour in the morning. Yeah.
Yeah. So all of our services are covered there. We have a whole section on marketing where we go through all that. And by the way, everything that you go through in our virtual training is on this site. So you can go back and review it. So we've got the recorded sessions on here as well for people who want to go back and review them, or maybe train somebody else. All kinds of tools and resources and other stuff there. So it's a good site. All right, let's see, Jason. Here's another question from somebody coming in. Let's see. This is Alan. He says, "How many hours a day are you putting in this?"
Hey, Alan, it's a full-time job for me at this point. Do I put in 8 to 10 hours every single day? No. I don't. I mean, I have the flexibility not to have to do that, but it all depends, to be honest with you, how successful you want to be. If I was happy with just having the one provider, then that would generate a pretty nice supplemental income for me, and I would probably only need to work 2 or 3 hours a day. But I'm interested in growing it beyond that. So in order to do that, right now I'm putting in a full day, most days of the week.
Yeah, I mean, when people ask me how much time you have to put in, I say, well, you can put in as much time as you want to. It's a part-time job, really. You can put in any 12-hour period of the day you want to in your own
Right.
business.
But the beauty of it, Patrick, as you know, is I can put that time in, in the morning or in the afternoon, or I can do what I want to do during the day and come home at night and do the billing at night. It's really up to me on how I want to control my day. I'm not punching a clock for someone else.
Yeah. All right. So here's a question we get sometimes, Jason, that's kind of hard to answer because I know every day is probably like you and me. It's all different. But he says, so what is a typical day like? Are you putting in so much time in your reaching out to networking, marketing type stuff, or how do you divide up your day usually?
I actually try to keep my days pretty structured. For me, I need structure. I need to know what I'm doing and kind of a set agenda every day. So I typically, when I get up in the morning, I review the AVS support website to see if anything new is on there that I need to be aware of or anything that might help me professionally. Then I spend 3 or 4 hours working on my new practice because we're still trying to get her up and running. And then I put in a couple hours with the billing information. And then from there, the rest of my day is typically spent on either reaching out more to my warm market, my referral sources, looking for new ways to market my company, whether I'm dropping off one of the great books that we get from ABS and Patrick co-wrote, or dropping off marketing material that's available to us, or just making phone calls. But that's typically what I do. I try to spend my most of my morning hours working on my existing clientele, and then my afternoon hours marketing my business to try to generate more business.
Yeah, everybody is going to do it differently, of course, and your days will vary depending on how many claims you have to do today, and if it's a
Right.
light day on claims, then you focus on some administrative stuff, or
Right.
maybe going to the LSS and learning some more stuff. Yeah. Now you mentioned, let's see, I'm back on Safari there. Let me switch back. I wanted to go to this slide showing some of the marketing materials. Jason, can you touch on some of the stuff that you see here and tell them what's involved in what you get, as a licensee?
Well, I don't remember the credit, Patrick. Was it how much credit? How much?
Yeah, 2,000 pieces of flyers
Okay.
that are
So
personalized, customized.
yep. So those flyers, they're wonderful flyers, and what's nice about them is what you can't see there is you can actually get those flyers, which ABS has taken the time to design and do all the work for us. Which, if you know anything about marketing and building a brand, that's a big expense and a big part of building a business. So they've done all that for us, and then we can take that material and we can actually put our own logos and contact information on them, which I've done, and then we can distribute them as we see fit. And that pretty much tells the synopsis of all the different services that we can provide. So you can drop it off or include it in a mailer, or a visit with a potential prospect or a referral source in a whole one packet, or you can identify a need in a particular practice and just provide that one piece of literature. The little postcard mailers there on the left, I like those. What I do with those is I've also got my logos on those, and what I've started doing is identifying practices that I want to market to, and then I start a drip campaign. So every month I mail out one flyer to them. So they get this service this month, that service the following month, et cetera, et cetera. That's 9 months worth of stuff. And then in the meantime, I'm also following that up with potentially a drop-in visit where I'm dropping off some little trinkets that we came up with, or just saying hello, or whatever it is. I'm not bombarding them with anything. I'm not cold calling them. But that's just one of the things I do, is I use that as a drip campaign, and I think that works, or potentially could work very well.
Yeah, so you're using our auto card to send those cards out automatically, I guess.
I am, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, folks, this is an online system that you set up the drip campaign, it's called, for a particular practice, and they get the first card immediately, and then you set it so that 30 days later they get the second card, and then 30 days later they get the third. That's all done without you even having to think about it.
Yeah.
And like Jason said, you can personalize those any way you want to as well.
Just
And
kind of
then you mentioned, yeah, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Just kind of keeps you top of mind. So whenever something does come up where they have a need, you're who they're going to remember. Yeah.
That's all it is, and we've had licensees tell us stories that are amazing. I mean, they literally would be called into a doctor's office months after they had first visited them, and they weren't interested at the time of outsourcing, and then they call them in, and when they get there, they go, "Well, yeah, we chose you guys because you kept sending us those cards in the mail," and the licensees had completely, literally forgotten that the cards were going out. It's that automated. And of course, anybody who sends me a card once a month about any service, if I need that service down the line, I'm not going to go to the Yellow Pages. Wait, is there such a thing anymore? I don't think so. I'm not going to just look around on the internet. I'm going to go to that person who seemed to be professional enough to let me know that they wanted my business.
Yeah.
So that's what that's all about. Now, Jason, you mentioned earlier about the books. Somebody's asking here, what did he mean about the books you wrote? How do you use those in marketing? Can you tell us a little bit about this book, for example?
Yeah. So this is a book that was written by Patrick and Dr. Rackner there, and you actually can put your name right on the front there and write a little forward into the book with your name on it. It gives you a little bit of credibility. Every time I give that to somebody and they say, "That's you," and I'm like, "That is me," and they're like, "Well, that's really cool." So the way I've used those, obviously I used it with my first provider when I was trying to build that credibility, and I talked to the CPA, and then I went and met with him the first time. I left my book with him just to build a little bit of credibility. And I think he's since passed that book on to someone else. I did a trade show I guess it was about 3 or 4 weeks ago. And at the trade show, I had a stock of those books with me. And I didn't just give those books out to anybody that came up. I wanted to engage in a conversation with them. And through that conversation, if they were someone that I felt like I could potentially market to in the future, then I offered them that book. But I know licensees have 100 different ways the way they'd use these books, but I think it's just another way to give you a little bit of credibility and stand out above, other companies that are doing similar businesses.
I mean, it doesn't get any better than to have your name on the front cover of a book written by a doctor.
Right.
You're positioning yourself as the expert without even saying that.
Right.
Like you said, Jason, when people say, "Is that you mean that's you?" Yes. it's just so rare that you can have this done. And of course, this is a part of your package. You get 25, I think, to start with. And if you want more of them, even though it sells for $24.95 on Amazon, you buy them for like $4 a copy, printed
Right.
with your name
With
on the front
your
cover.
name on it. Yeah.
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 And your contact information is on the inside, right at the end of the forward, which you can write your own. I don't know if you did or not, Jason, but most people just use our standard one that we have. You know, you can put your name on.
Right.
It's pretty cool idea from a marketing standpoint. It doesn't it that builds credibility like unbelievable.
Yeah, for sure.
Uh, let's see. Here's a question about this one's from Anne. She says, Jason, what is it that you wished you had done that you didn't do before you got in this business? I don't know what that means, but
What is?
was there anything that you should have done that you didn't do that you wished you had done?
I can't think of anything, Ann.
So you didn't make any mistakes.
I'm sure I did. We all make mistakes, but we learn from them, I guess. But I mean, in regards to choosing to join ABS, there's not any additional research I would have done or any, I think I landed upon the right opportunity for me at the right time. So.
Now, Jason, you did mention though that you'd been researching businesses and I guess us for some time. You remember how many months that you've been on our webinars or looking at us before you made that decision?
Looking at ABS in particular, probably about 6 months.
Yeah, good. Well, so let me ask you, you had seen some of these interviews yourself from some of our licensees?
I have. I'd seen some of the interviews. I spoke to some licensees. Through when I was going through the process and being recruited by ABS, they provided me with some licensees that have been doing this for a while, and I reached out to some of them. So I did some due diligence before I landed on it or made my investment.
Yeah. Well, not like one guy did. I had a licensee who it was the lady, but her husband had worked for the either the NSA or the FBI one, and he did a background check on me. He said, "I know all about all your skeletons, Patrick." He was just joking. I don't
Yeah.
have any, but he did thoroughly search out the company, and you got to nowadays. There's too many scams out there.
Sure, absolutely.
Uh, okay, sorry. Here's Glenn. Glenn says, "How many meetings with prospects before you close the deal?" He calls it.
Well, again, I'm a new licensee, so it's hard for me to kind of to say what the typical one is. I was very fortunate with my first one. I already had that warm introduction. We had a mutual CPA. CPA vouched for me. The client had been friends with the CPA for a long time. So really, I met with him the first time, and by the time I got home that night, I had a text from the husband and said, "We really enjoyed meeting with you. We like you. What do we need to do to keep moving forward?" So that's not typical, I wouldn't think. The next provider, kind of a similar situation. I mean, I was referred to him by another provider who vouched for me. He was unhappy with who he was doing business with. I met with him. I was able to make an impression during that meeting. And I don't know if I met with him a second time or not, but if it wasn't the first time, it was the second time. He said, "Go and write me a proposal." Went and wrote him a proposal. He called. That was over the weekend when I wrote it. Sent it to him on like a Saturday or Sunday. He called me the following Tuesday and said, "Let's sign up." So, but then I've heard stories from other licensees that they meet with them for weeks and sometimes months in multiple meetings over extended period of time before they actually sign up. It's just everyone's different, and it's just a matter of being ready when the time's right. And
yeah. And you mentioned the proposal. Of course, that's something that we not only teach you how to do and give you the templates to create it, but we even will help you with the creation of that and review it with you and, make sure that you're pricing everything correctly. Again, it's your business, so we don't have any say-so, but we certainly give you input.
And I will say this, Patrick, that's a good point. I want to throw this out there because someone else asked me, what am I charging for billing rates? And I will say that the second provider that I signed up, he's a little bit difficult, and he's a little bit money conscious. It should be polite. And he really wanted to undercut my rates. And, I remember in training, Cynthia saying, don't, know your value. Make sure you know your value. And with this being my second provider, I really wanted to sign him up. And I was really leaning towards just cutting my rate just to sign him up. And I'm on my way home and I call support. And I happen to speak to, I don't know if I can say the name, but I spoke to a person I speak to quite a bit at support, Tim, and went through the scenario with him. And he said, Jason, don't cut your rate. Do not, know your value. And he kind of said the same thing, know your value. Because if he's going to devalue you at this early point, the relationship is going to get off to a bad start to begin with. So know your value, stick to your guns, and do what you need to do. So when I made my proposal, I remember those words and I went with what my rate should be, and that's what he signed up for. So
you can always come up with a reason to drop the rate if they don't like it, right?
Right.
It's always better in any kind of business dealing to start high. You can always go lower. You just can't start low and then go higher.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
And
so anyway, I was very thankful to support to be able to have that sounding board and to have them assist me on where I should be setting my rate.
Yeah, we teach people don't try to be the Walmart of the medical billing industry.
That's right.
What happens is, if you had signed that guy up, let's say you gave him, I don't know, 5% or whatever, just to get the business. Some people say, I just want the client, I want that account, so I'm going to do it for 5%, even though I just almost break even. Right. Well, what'll happen is that doctor will tell the next doctor that he refers to you.
That's right. That's exactly right.
You got a good deal, 5%, and then that other doctor will want to too. So
want the same deal, right?
Yeah. Okay, so here's one from Sean. He says, how has support been since you first became a licensee?
Support has been there when I needed them. If I have an issue come up and I need some assistance, they're right there to help. They answer as honestly as they can, and they provide the assistance that they can. With that being said, it's our business, so they're not there to call you daily and say, hey Jason, did you do this, or do you need help with that, or whatever it is. If you take ownership of your business and something comes up that you need help with, they will help you with anything you need. So for me, from my perspective, support has been exactly what I would have hoped for.
Well, thank you, Jason. And you know that we are here. We really honestly have a sincere interest in every one of our licensees being as successful as they possibly can. And again, it is because we're nice guys, but we also, as a business, make money on all those services that we mentioned earlier. So obviously, the more business you get, the more money you make, the more money we make as a company. That's the American way.
Yeah.
All right. So here's one last question, Jason. I'm going to let you go because you've been on here with me, for an hour now. This one is from Seth. Seth says, "What is the one thing that you could tell me as someone looking into this new business that I should check out?" Did you call some of our references, for example, Jason, when you were looking into it?
I did. I called several of them. Yep. And they were all they were all very helpful, and that's I would certainly recommend that someone call licensees. I would call new ones, but I would also call ones that have been there for several years or longer. That's what I did. I called the ones that have been around a while, and I called some of the newer ones, and no one had anything negative to say, and they all had a different story to tell, and they had all built their business a different way and had different goals and dreams with their business, and it was very helpful.
Yeah, we tell people, look, these are just people that started their business just like you. We don't tell them what to say, good or bad. They could be saying bad stuff about us. We don't know, but we rotate through different people, each month so that they don't all get all the calls. but they're gracious enough to take those calls, and we even are honest and straight up with them and say, look, your time is worth something. As a business person, that's all you have to sell is your time, right? That's how you make your money, selling your time to doctors and so forth. So, invoices for your time, it's fine. I don't look at that as I'm not paying people to say things about me or about the company. I'm just saying that's the fair thing to do. I would not want to take calls if I very long. I might take a few, but then at some point I'd go, hey, this is taking a lot of my time that I could be making money. So we just tell them, hey, invoices, whatever you think your time is worth. We just do it on an honor basis and say, look, just let us know. Now, some of them will bill us. Many of them won't. They just say, look, you've done some great things for me. You helped me get a business going, and I'm grateful for your help. So Jason, thank you so much for being on here. We do have a few more questions coming in, but they have to do with the actual opportunity and getting in the business itself. So any final words for folks that are on here that are doing their due diligence?
The only thing I would say is that it's certainly the system can work. It's just, again, at the end of the day, that to build the business is on you. And you have to, through training, they give you a lot of different ways you can market your business. And you have to try to figure out which one of 2 or 3 of those ways is going to be more suitable to my personality, and then stick with it and be consistent. And don't think just because Jason got a client in 30 days that I'm going to get a client in 30 days. I mean, there's licensees that don't get a client for 6, 7, 8 months, but once they get that first client, that second client usually comes right away. And it's just a matter of being persistent and diligent and doing the right thing by people. And if you can do that, and you can stay positive and not let a few no's, get you depressed or get you down, or start making you think you made a mistake, then anybody is capable of succeeding in this business. And ABS certainly gives you the tools and the resources to help you do that.
Well, you're proof positive of that, Jason. Having just gone through training, 3-4 months ago, and here you already have 3 providers. That's a pretty fast, good start in the business. You should see a return on your investment pretty quickly.
Yes, sir. Well, I do appreciate the time to be on here and speaking with everybody, and I appreciate your time, Patrick, and I certainly appreciate the packages and the opportunity that you give us all.
Thank you, Jason. Folks, again, we do our training live, online, one-on-one, just like you see here in this illustration up in the right-hand corner there. That is Cynthia Anderson, one of our instructors I mentioned earlier, and she will be on there with you, showing you her information and slides, of course, but she'll also be there to answer your questions. And so you've got her devoted attention for that hour and a half every session that you're on there with her. We schedule these according to your schedule, not ours, because we want this to fit your life style and your schedule. And hey, folks, I'll let you know that we only have a handful of slots that are available for getting started. Now, that's because we have a lot of sessions going on right now that some people are in module 1, some are in module 8, And so if you're thinking about getting this business going before the end of the year, let me encourage you to do that for 2 reasons. Number one, we could run out of slots for you to get started, and it might be the first of the year before you got started. But secondly, we're going to go up on the licensing price. Now, those of you who've been talking to your reps here know that are seeing it on the website. It's $26,990. Let's round that up. It's $27,000, right, as a licensing fee. That covers your training, of course. It also covers lifetime support, and it covers us doing live demos for you and your doctor, going over all your proposals, access to our website there that you saw earlier. All that's included, and there's no ongoing fees or training fees or support fees ever. That's a one-time fee and you're done. You'll never pay ABS another penny. Now, that's unusual in this business. If you check other companies, you'll see that's unusual. And number 2, we believe so much in what we're doing, we have a full money-back guarantee. That's right. If you don't like, after you've gone, well, basically it's 30 days from the time that you sign the agreement. If you go through the training, you can usually get that done in about 3 weeks. And then if you, for some reason, don't think this is the right business for you, just let us know and we'll give you a refund of all of your license fee. We don't want your money. What we want is to build this business, because again, we make money, ongoing money, as you sign up clients. So if for some reason you go through the training and you go, I don't like this, just let us know. We have done that a handful of times in the last 25 years. It does happen, but it's very rare because we do what we say we're going to do, and it's that good. Let's see if I can get to the next slide here. Yeah, so if you have not talked to one of the three gentlemen that you see here on the screen, these are our business consultants here at ABS, and they'll be glad to answer any questions you have, give you a live demo of our cloud-based billing system, and of course, answer all your questions. There's the contact information. You might take a snapshot of that right now while it's on your screen if you don't have that information. But if you look back at the email that invited you to this webinar, you'll probably see their name and their phone number and email address on there as well. We also have a toll-free number there at the bottom of the screen. If you're not sure who your rep is, just call and ask who is my rep there at ABS. We'll be glad to give it to you.